permit me to introduce to us the last presentation for today. That is, what are the skills development, very closely related to that of Dr. Logunde. What are the skills development employers are looking for in the digital age? This is going to be anchored by a friend of the university, Dr. Akanimo Odon. Dr. Akanimo Odon is a very known personality to us. He has come down to LAUTECH, and he's a son of the soil, according to him, because the whole title deeds in Ogbomoso, because he finished his secondary education from Federal Government College of Ogbomoso. He's an international business and strategy development expert who has gained experience working in several capacities to several global and international bodies with a specialization in education and training, energy and environment, oil and gas, media, charities, and government. He has an in-depth understanding of global issues, but with special reference to Africa. He has been advisor to the British government on developing international education policies under the National Student Forum, on-call education partnership consultant to British Council, and business development consultant for the Growth Creative Scheme under the European Regional Development Fund. He is an international multi-award winner, a seasoned author and a writer, and the founder of different successful African development initiatives and programs. His links and networks spread across over 30 African countries, and his working relationship with a wide range of international bodies make it easy for him to realize his professional goals. His goals and ultimate professional mission is to help overseas bodies, firms, and individuals to get good entry, settlement, and capture of the African market, and for the African bodies and organizations to grow and establish themselves in the international market. Permit me to present to us Dr. Akanimo Odon, the son of the soil. Dr. Odon, you have the floor.
Thank you very, very much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Yeah, and I think I remember I had a really good time when I came to LAUTECH last, and I've been in good conversation with Professor Arologo, and thanks also to the VC for its support in putting this together. I don't know whether it was intentional to make me the last speaker of the conference, but I'm hoping I can, maybe in some sense, maybe make my talk a bit more practical, kind of narrow it down. So for the last 2 days, and even today in the last speakers, they've done incredible job, kind of breaking down different entry points for the kinds of skills that is being required in this era. And the more I hear people talk about it, I think I've been having, so for example, in April, I put together an online course, which I'll talk about in a minute. And after launching the course, I think I've had over 4,000 young people engage with the course in less than 2 months. You see, but beyond the course itself, I've been having engagements with them on different WhatsApp groups with different partners. And it's become clear to me that one of the key issues they seem to say a lot about is the fact that because there's been so much discussion about the skills that are required in the era, what are the skills that are required in the era, what are the skills that are required in the era, there is so much talk around these specific skills, virtual collaboration and digital skills, digital awareness, being able to do programming, like last speaker was saying, being able to do a PowerPoint presentation, and a long list of skills. I guess the question therefore is, well, we know these skills, but how can we pick them up? How can we develop them? I guess for me, that's actually what I want to focus on. And especially in an environment where if there's a dependence on universities to make these skills available to the students, will universities do so? Is there some, I mean, is it not externals to the students to have to depend on universities or depend on government to make these things available to them? What if they don't? I mean, we've been speaking about the connectivity between academia and industry for how many years? For a long time. Till today, many African universities still struggle with engaging with industry, even though everyone knows it's the right thing to do, which automatically impacts on the employability capacity of their students. So even though it's a norm and it's supposed to be the case, it's what they're supposed to do, if it's not happening, who suffers at the end of the day? The students suffer, young people suffer. So I guess my premise basically is in an environment where these are not provided, you know you're supposed to have it. What do you do as an individual, as somebody trying to move from one level to the other, trying to feed your family, trying to kind of position yourself in the new era? Forget that the VC knows what to do, but he's not doing it, because that's actually what reality is. What can you do? So I want to go a bit lower, kind of let's forget about, I mean, we all know after 2 days, if you have done this conference after 2 days and you don't know which skills are needed in the new era, then you haven't been at the conference. That is well known. You know the skills. You know what the new job market will look like. But now the question is, what can you do as an individual? So I'm going to share my screen and then quickly go through specific steps I believe the average person can start doing today as a basis of beginning to position yourself. So if you bear with me, I know I've got just 2 minutes. So I want to title this "Thinking Outside the Box," okay, as a basis. I'll just move. Okay. So now we've covered all of this. There's a huge issue around the employability status of the continent, and that's obviously is a crisis. Job losses, population growth, but even with increase in education, well, it doesn't translate to increase in employment, which is actually an issue. All that is known. It's been shared in one way or the other in the last 2 days. I'm going to just forget all of that, and then I want to kind of focus on this for a minute. Now we live in an era where everything we do transcends borders and geography, and so even though you are Nigerian or you are Ghanaian, the fact remains that the era we live, because of the virtual space, Industry 4.0, there is no border. And the last speaker spoke about a job that's a borderless job market. And so it means that if I am physically positioned in the UK and you're telling me I'm a global citizen, that I'm also potentially relevant in Kenya, it means that the focus point starts with my mind. It begins with the individual. For creativity, flexibility, dedication, or proactiveness, it begins with the mind. So I'm going to go to this point. So that means that the first thing is that you need to understand and actually believe yourself almost understand your global self. So maybe a good way to ask the question is this. So what would you prefer I called you? If I said I'm a Nigerian researcher, okay, but I'm interested in global issues. Or if I said I'm an international researcher, I am only resident in Nigeria, which would you prefer to call yourself? Well, if you ask me, I'll prefer the later. Because by positioning, it affects your thinking. It begins with yourself. So even though you are based in Nigeria, do you actually see yourself as an international youth, as an international professional in your space? It's an understanding of self and space. So I'll give an example. When I began doing what I now do, my job covers over 30 countries. I travel all the time. But I remember that when I started doing what I do, on my LinkedIn profile, which I'll come to in a minute, I used to call myself a Nigerian expert. So I was heavy in arranging interactions and connections and partnerships between Nigeria and the UK. That was what I called myself. But the moment I understood that, wait a minute, Nigeria is 200 million people. That's a lot of people. But actually, in the scheme of things, it's actually small because Africa is 55 countries and over a billion people. So then I changed my nomenclature. Go and check it on LinkedIn to an African expert. Guess what happened? Immediately, I kind of understood that actually I am a true African expert by understanding of myself and space. What it did was that it put a compulsion on me to be truly an African expert. You can't call yourself an African expert and not know Africa. So what do you think I started doing? I started researching about other countries, finding out investigation about other countries, and I'll talk about this in a bit. But it begins with a realization of who you are. Many people just live in a particular location geographically. And so everything they do is streamlined by that location. You are just in that location. So if you're looking for partnerships, it's in that location. If you're looking for resources, it's in that location. But there is a global space that you have access to, because if you restrict your space, you restrict your place. And so it automatically has impact on how you progress. So therefore, an understanding of your global self and space has implication of your understanding of global partnerships and connections, or global skills development, aligning with global agendas, or preferring global solutions. So these are the basis, five key strategies of positioning. So it begins with an understanding of the global self and space, which has an inclination on your capability for global partnerships and connections, that kind of nosedives into developing skills that is of a global relevance, and then aligning yourself with key global agendas, and finally, preferring solutions. Now, to the specifics. So now, Once you've understood your global self, I want to go a bit further. So do you actually know who you are? So I remember on my online course, the very first question you see on the course is a very simple question. And the question is, who are you? Can you just in your mind at the moment try answering that question? Would you answer the question from the perspective of your professional skills, or from the perspective of the job you do, or from what you love? If I asked you and said, can you write in 100 words what your professional self is now? And then write in 100 words what your future self would be in 10 years. Can you articulate that? So you have to be able, in short term, capture your essence. Who are you? What is your goal? If you ask me now, I will tell you I'm an international knowledge exchange expert with capacity building at my core. I know who I am. It's very clear to me. So it means therefore, because I've got a central point of focus, whatever it is I do actually impacts on that central focus. It keeps you concrete. It keeps you defined. Number two, what you can start doing now, because everything I've told you here, I've done it in the last 1 year. Number two, rewrite your CV. Try it. No, but rewrite your CV, start tonight, but rewrite your CV with industry revolution IR 4.0 in mind. You might say, well, but I've already have a CV. I'm a top professor for a long time. Yeah, your CV is an academic CV based on what you've accomplished till now. Try writing a CV, which is obviously a CV is a physical positioning of your current capacity. But a CV is also something else. A CV is also the evidence of your lack. So for example, if I wrote, the first time I wrote my new CV, what I call my Industrial Revolution 4.0 CV, as I was writing the CV, can you believe my normal CV is over 30 pages? By page 10 of my IRO 4.0 CV, I was stuck. Right away, I knew that there are many gaps in this new CV. So try rewriting a fresh CV designed for the new era. It puts things in perspective. It shows you your actual physical positioning in terms of your skills capacity for the new era. It means, therefore, if you know what you are not, and you know what you want, it means you can know where you are going to, enough to acquire and begin to look for those kind of skills to augment yourself for the new era. It's a very simple exercise, but try it. It works magic. Rewrite a fresh CV. Forget all you've done. We've all agreed that the new era has brought a new dimension. Things that used to happen, no longer happening. It means, therefore, think of yourself as a new employee. If you are going to look for a new job in this new era, you have to write a CV. It's almost what happens to like a fresh graduate. When you graduate, your first CV, and I've checked this, the average graduate CV is about 2-3 pages. But the point is, by the time they get to, after they've written, if you like their personal details, their education history, maybe some skill sets, references, it's over. What else have they got? Because when it comes to work experiences, they are lacking. It means if you rewrite your new CV, I can assure you, if you haven't done anything relevant or in alignment with the skills required in a new era, you will struggle to find the allocation within specific segments of the CV. That's why it's a very powerful but simple practical exercise. Number two, now do a time mapping, because everything you've discovered is this. So I'll give you an example. During this lockdown, I used to hear people say, professionals or executives or students tell me, oh, I want to write a book, but I never had the time. I'm too busy. Oh, I want to do this, start a new business. I've never had the time. Then I discovered that during the lockdown, you had a lot more time in your hands. But the question is, did you write that book? Did you, that thing you wanted to do, that you were complaining because of time, you didn't still do it. So it is not the availability of time, but actually is the investment of time. So time management is the control of self in order to control time. And a very simple exercise is do a simple time mapping. Start tomorrow morning. Don't postpone it. It's very simple. Look for a small piece of paper, and because time management in the new era is absolutely crucial, especially when you are working from home and the kids are bombarding you on every side and everything is kind of all over the place. You need to know what time allocation is and appreciate time management. So a good exercise would be do a simple allocation of like a small Excel spreadsheet. Activities, time. Begin from when you wake up. I've done it. After I've done it, I was amazed at how much time I waste doing absolutely nothing. That's the reason why once I did that, I've been able to reallocate my time, which is the reason why, even though it's been a 2 to 3 months lockdown, I've been able to produce a full online course. I've written a full book within this space of time. What I didn't realize I had the time for. Number two. Number three, you cannot be a global citizen and just remain somebody that is being restricted by geographical space. So it means think about increasing your network. And I discovered something. I have never found a time where I have grown my partnerships so much like during this lockdown. You know why? Because every other person is also on lockdown. They are home. I had a chat one day with the vice chancellor. I won't mention the name. And as we were speaking on the phone, we spoke about 45 minutes. Midway, I realized that, wait a minute, if this VC never has time before lockdown, 2-3 minutes, it cost the call. But now, we were gisting. I was like, VC, you have time? He said, yes, tell me all the initiatives. What am I saying? It's the best time to begin to think about growing your network. So I'll give an example. If you are a professional in any area, have you tried in one form or the other to look for somebody who is doing something specific around what you do, but in other countries? Because when you understand a global network, what it does is it exposes you to other opportunities. The skill of virtual collaboration is an important skill, but how do you do it? It's as simple as, if you've got a LinkedIn profile, go right now, compare your LinkedIn profile and your CV. And I've checked this. The average person I've met and I've spoken to, I've engaged with, will tell me that their LinkedIn profile is just 2 pages. And I look at their normal CV on their laptop, it's like 10 pages. And I'm wondering, that doesn't make any sense to me. The CV that you want to use to express your capacity to the world in a global era is just 2 pages. But the one that is gathering dust on your laptop, which nobody sees, is 10 pages. How does that make sense? So tomorrow or tonight, go to your LinkedIn profile and update your CV on LinkedIn. Whatever social media platforms you have, increase your presence. That is the era we now live. People want to know who you are. Let me ask you a question. If you send a message to somebody right now for a partnership, what do you think is the first thing they will do? They will just Google you. So try a small exercise. If you Googled your name now, what would happen? If Google is coughing to find you, or Google is having epilepsy, that means there is something wrong. Google, especially if Google has to kind of tell you, did you mean this person? It means Google has checked everywhere and they can't find you. How can you be living in the global era and not be in the global space? Doesn't make any sense. So that means you need to increase your content professionally in one form or the other. Look at LinkedIn. Every platform I've seen actually have a button most people never use. You know what it is? The search button. What do? Go there on LinkedIn, go on Facebook, and just search internationals in research or chemists in Kenya, chemists in Tanzania. A list would pop up. Do a simple introduction. I am so and so person. I do so and so in Nigeria. I discovered on your LinkedIn profile, you also do the same. Is it possible for us to have a conversation? A simple introduction begins a conversation. Tell yourself as a target, every month, I want to know somebody in my network doing what I do in 4 countries. You see my phone, I show people every time. I have grown my network across the continent so much that it now impacts on my opportunities. You know what it is to have on your phone? Contacts from over 30 countries. And in these countries, these individuals know what you do. They know what opportunities you want or be interested in. It means, therefore, you actually have agents in those locations being able to, on your behalf, look for opportunities for you. So I wake up in the morning and I receive lots of WhatsApp messages and they ask me, hey, Doc, I saw this opportunity in this newspaper in Zambia. Are you interested? So I have to now choose. You've been told on the conference that there is so much opportunities to be available, but if you're already restricted by your space, then you might struggle. Now, the next thing is increase your knowledge. How much do you know in that sense? How much do you actually know about the impact of COVID in your space? Do you know people are constantly writing proposals and papers based on research and concrete data of the impact of COVID across different sectors? Do you know what how you can align yourself? There's so much free online courses available now like there's never been. It's incredible. You only need to do a simple thing. Write it down. Go on Google. Everybody's got mobile phones. And on your mobile phone, you have a Google search engine. Just type free international courses in chemistry, or free international courses in media, whatever your area is. A long list would pop up. Tell yourself, once every month, I want to do a short course or a short webinar to increase my knowledge, because you need to have knowledge to be relevant in this space. And guess what? For each of the activity I've mentioned so far, once you've acquired it, what do? You can now write it on your new CV. That is how you grow content, and you are ready now and for the future. Learning outside the box. I am aware that in the room or in the group, there are many students that are available. So try something very simple. Whatever it is you do, and I found this, many students are still bedeviled by the fact that they are doing a course that they don't like very much. I remember the basis why I wrote my last book called The Graduate Code was because I was addressing a class of 200 final year students at the University of Nigeria. And I asked them a question. I was like, so all of you, if you tell me how many of you are doing a course you don't like very much? Now, bear in mind, these are final year students of a Nigerian university, and half of their hands went up. They don't like that course, and they're their final year. Then I asked the next question. I said, how many of you have an idea or a sense of what you might want to do when you graduate? And I was in shock when only 5 hands went up. Then I knew there was a fundamental problem. There are many students, many young people in universities doing what they don't like. And the ones who even are doing what they like have no idea what they want to even do with it. Now, I'm telling you for a fact, for nothing, it's a good time to spend that little data you have on your phone and do some independent research. Goes to the next point. Find out about things. So find out about which organizations are doing amazingly in my field, in Nigeria and in specific countries. Because of time, I will spend time explaining to you how can you choose your country of positioning. It's based on political, economic, and also personal reasons. How you identify which countries to grow your network in, based on yourself, your current status, but also on your professional acquirement. Now, move to the next point. As a good way to acquire specific skills, learn the art of volunteering. I tried an experiment, because people will tell you, well, oh, when I'm graduate, I don't have work experience, because this is relevant, especially in this new era. So if you are lacking the space in your new CV that is preparing for the new era, can you give me access to about 10 students in your university? Let's try something very simple. And I discovered that most of these individuals, in some sense, are actually, I'm wrapping up now. Most of these individuals, in some sense, within the premise of every university, most of them would always have a conglomeration of SMEs, small business, because definitely every university attracts SMEs. It's by nature, by default. But then I said, okay, well, what you do is this: write a cover letter. I tried this experiment a few years ago. Write a cover letter. Ask your lecturer in the university to write you a small cover letter. Say that you're a good student in this university. Ask your guardian or your parent to write you a small letter as well. What do you now do? Go and approach any of these companies around. Are you following me? And tell them a small speech. And you say, sir, I am a student in this university. That's a cover letter. That's a reference letter from my lecturer. Could you please let me work for you for just 2 or 3 hours every week? And it's okay not to pay me. It's a very simple conversation. And guess what? Within a space of 1 week, all the students that I was engaged in this small experiment got jobs. What is 2 hours in a week? To a student or young person, that is nothing. 2 hours is a single match of Manchester and Arsenal. 2 hours is 2 episodes of Game of Thrones. It's nothing. You will spend 2 hours doing absolutely nothing. But guess what? There is no CV that requires you to state how much you were paid for a job. I've not seen it yet. There is no CV that requires you to tell them how long you worked. You only say, I worked there from January to December. As long as through volunteering, you were able to pick up the requirement and the skills you need to position yourself. That is the point. You have to think outside the box. Now, if you are a student in your final year, it's the same premise, and you're about to do a research, obviously you have to do a dissertation. That is compulsory across all universities. How about you try in a different way? What do? You also go to these companies and you do something, say, well, so sir, especially if you can do some good positioning, before you put together your proposal for your dissertation, visit a small SME around the university and ask them, so sir, is there any problem you have or any information you want to find out as a company? It could be market intelligence, competitor analysis. It could be their carbon footprint, whatever it is. Because SMEs by design always have problems. So then ask them, okay, well, then put it together and then make that simple problem the basis of your dissertation. That means you're not just doing a dissertation where like most people do, just do a dissertation, get some data, publish a thesis, and that's it. But it has no relevance. Let your dissertation actually be a response to a practical problem you found out an SME in town or close by or someone you know actually has. It's a powerful way of bridging the gap between academia and industry using student projects. Simple measures you can begin to do now to begin to align yourself as against just thinking outside the box and being rhetorical. On that note, thank you very much.
This is wonderful. Dr. Akanimo Odon, thank you so much for this insightful, thought-provoking, and eye-opening presentation. Well, you are somebody that nobody can really stop unless you stop yourself because of the way you normally present. So we can almost try to stop most of the presenters, but when you are talking, it is very difficult to stop you. Because even if I dare stop you, I'm going to be crucified because some people are making comments. So it was a deliberate act to put you last so that whatever it means, whoever is interested is going to stay. So if you're not interested, you can walk away. So thank you so much. You have opened our eyes to what are the skills. You see, the last two speakers have always, they've dealt so much on skill development, but your own angle, the way you approach it is different. That is strategy for repositioning yourself. They said you should understand your global self. And you want to be constricted to your own space or you want to be known globally, it is up to you. So understand yourself globally, then find global partnership and connections. It is very, very important. Then if you are finding global connections and partnership, what are the skills that are required to do this? Then you need to find the skills too. Then that means you need skills development. Then you now have to align with the global agendas. What is going on now? The thing is artificial intelligence, robotics, this and the industrial revolution 4.0 and so you have to align with what is going. Then you have to do profiling global solutions too. What are the solutions that the people are asking for? To do this, you have to understand who you are. Then you have to rewrite your CV. Dr. Odon has advised us, so maybe as immediately we finish this, I'll go and sit down and rewrite my CV. So that my CV is going to be in compliance with the IR 4.0. Then you need to do time management. Then increase your network in social medias. We are doing useless things on social medias. Instead of spending 2-3 hours responding to chat, looking at all these obscene sites, why don't you look for connections that are going to be beneficial to you? Then increase knowledge by doing short courses, that is micro-credentials. By I know how to do this, I know how to do that, things like that. Then think outside the box, my brother and sisters. Then do volunteering jobs so that when you want to rewrite your CV, don't say, I don't have this knowledge. I've never done this before. Maybe through volunteering, you should have done something like that and put it in your CV. Then do independent research around before you write proposals and be a solution provider. Dr. Akanimo Odon, thank you for staying with us. Thank you for answering our call.